We got two new mock drafts to talk about when it relates to the Philadelphia 76ers from ESPN and Bleacher Report. Both released new full mock drafts today after the NCAA tournament ended with Florida beating Houston in what was an absolute thriller of a game. So I'm going to go through who each of them picked for the Sixers at number 5 overall in the first round, if I agree, if I disagree with their selections. But before we get into it, guys, this is why you subscribe to the channel. Services like ESPN, they hide these mock drafts behind paid subscriptions like ESPN Plus that can cost you $120 per year. But right here on the channel, we're giving you all this information and more for absolutely free. We're trying to get to 22,000 subscribers here on the show. So hit that sub button for the best and most informative NBA draft coverage you will find out there on the 76ers on YouTube. So let's begin with the ESPN mock draft. Pretty typical first 4 picks here from ESPN. Cooper Flagg going 1 to the Utah Jazz. Dylan Harper going number 2 to the Washington Wizards. His Rutgers teammate Ace Bailey going 3rd to the Charlotte Hornets. And then VJ Edgecombe going number 4 out of Baylor to the New Orleans Pelicans. Pretty chalk top 4 there. Brings us to the Sixers at number 5. And ESPN draft expert Jonathan Givony went with Trey Johnson, the freshman guard out of Texas for the Sixers. Been a pretty popular pick when it comes to the mock drafts here for Philadelphia. Here is what Givony had to say about Trey Johnson going to Philadelphia. Johnson is a prototype for what many NBA teams are seeking at the wing position. Standing at 6'6" with a 6'10" wingspan, dynamic shot-making prowess, and the skill level, versatility, and aggressiveness to create shots in bunches. Shouldn't have issues filling up the scoring column in the NBA. The Sixers, already eliminated from the postseason, would be thrilled to keep their pick after a miserable season and could have interest in adding a 19-year-old wing who would bring plenty of scoring power. And when you talk about scoring power and scoring in bunches, that is absolutely what Trey Johnson does. Again, listed at 6'6", 190. One of the concerns with him, probably going to come in at the NBA Combine listed a little bit under that. Some people think maybe closer to 6'4", 6'5". So where he plays on that wing spot could depend on how tall he actually is. And obviously a little undersized weight-wise at 190, but just 19 years old, was a freshman this year at Texas. Again, a dynamic scorer, and he gets it done in all types of ways, right? Whether it's off the ball, catch and shoot. He is a dynamic three-point shooter, especially, but he can create his own shot. And a lot of times for Texas, he was the offense, the guy that was putting the ball in the basket for them, some tough mid-ranges. Like when you just think about a go-to perimeter outside scorer, that is Trey Johnson. And of course, that also comes with the ability to be a skilled ball handler. He has a flurry of moves out there. He's a nice tight handle. He can do a lot of things with the ball and doesn't make too many mistakes, although he can be prone to turnovers because he has the ball so much. He's also a good cutter and good playing off the ball. They would run a lot of sets from at Texas, coming off screens, getting open, catch and shoots, and he can shoot it while moving, catching the ball. So that's a good sign that he can be a little more versatile than just always having to have the ball to score. Some of the concerns, though, that are brought up with Trey Johnson going to be defensively, again, which goes back to that height, weight. Like, can he really play the 3 spot? Can he really play on the wing? Is he more of a guard? And even then, showed lapses defensively at times, not always locked in. He has the wingspan. He has some tools to be a better defender, but hasn't always shown that, hasn't always shown good awareness and the shot selection at times as well. Because he is such a good scorer, he's going to take a lot of tough shots, but too many times you could see just kind of a boneheaded shot. Like, what are you taking there, man? You can get a better shot than that. So that'll have to come along as well in the NBA. Now, this year as a freshman in the SEC, which was the best conference maybe that we've ever seen in college basketball, led the conference in scoring at nearly 20 points per game, shooting almost 40% from 3. So when I tell you he can shoot it from outside, he can shoot it from outside. But you see 42.7% from the field, not too much better outside of that. A very popular pro comp for Trey Johnson is Tyler Hero, and I think it makes a lot of sense, right, when you think about the way these two guys score, because Trey Johnson, another concern of his, is that as good of a scorer as he is, he doesn't necessarily get to the rim and get to the free throw line as much as you'd like, which has caused some questions as to what his eventual upside is as a scorer. Because if you want to be a top scorer in the NBA, especially at that 6'4" to 6'6" height, you're going to want to be able to do more things than just knock down jumpers because the shot's not always going to be falling unless you're Steph Curry, and he's not Steph Curry. So you want to see him develop more of an ability to attack the basket as well. But, Tyler Hero is a very, very good player for the Miami Heat and a very good scorer as well. But is he the kind of player that you can really build your team around and rely on to be your true number one option? And, that's kind of why I have some mixed feelings on Trey Johnson. There's no doubt to me that Trey Johnson is a very good prospect, a very good scorer, and can score in a variety of ways. And I do think that will translate to the NBA. But when it pertains to this Sixers team in particular, I don't know how good of a fit he is. I don't really feel comfortable playing him at the 3, especially if you're starting Tyrese Maxey and McCain or Tyrese Maxey and Quentin Grimes. I don't love also having Trey Johnson out there on the floor. So while I do think he's going to be a good player with some of his defensive concerns and some of the questions about the true upside he has as a player, I'm not sure he's the best fit at pick number 5 for the Philadelphia 76ers. But do you agree? Do you disagree? What say you? Do you like the pick of Trey Johnson there at number 5 by Jonathan Givony of ESPN? Give me an L for like, give me a D for dislike. Again, I do like the player, but when I'm picking at number 5 for a team like Philadelphia, I want to make sure that I get the player who can make the biggest impact. And given the type of ball he plays and where he fits in the floor, I'm not so sure Trey Johnson is the ideal fit as a smaller player. Again, don't think he's quite 6'6" for Philadelphia. So get involved in the comments section. Gonna get to who Bleacher Report had the Sixers taking in their 2025 NBA mock draft at number 5 overall. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to today's sponsor here on 76ers Now, and that is Game Time. Game Time is the only app you should be using on the ticket marketplace to get tickets for sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, and a whole lot more. Because with Game Time, you get the best seats at the best price at the last minute as well. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. The prices go down the closer you get to Game Time. And with the MLB season now fully underway, the Phillies off to a hot start after winning the series 2-1 against the Dodgers. They'll be on the road for a couple series here against the Braves and against the Cardinals, but then they'll be back home against a really good Giants team. You want to get tickets to that series, got to do it through Game Time. You can see the view from your seat, access tickets from your phone, and easily resell your tickets. They have last-minute deals, zone deals, all-in pricing. You turn that feature on, shows you the total upfront, no surprise fees at checkout. And with Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. I love using Game Time, and I know you will too. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So, moving on to the Bleacher Report mock draft. They had the same top 4. Ace Bailey and VJ Edgecombe were switched here for Bleacher Report, but the same 4 players still off the board. But at number 5, Jonathan Wasserman of Bleacher Report switched things up a little bit. Went with Derik Queen, the center out of Maryland, who we've talked about a bit as well here on the show. Here's what Wasserman had to say about Derik Queen going to Philadelphia. Scouts that thought highly of Derik Queen before the NCAA tournament should only feel more confident after Maryland's Sweet 16 exit. His 3 3-point makes, and 27-point game against number 1 seed Florida could have only helped turn some of the skeptics. Queen's skill level, scoring versatility, and passing IQ have been strong enough indicators of offensive success that certain teams will be willing to look past his defensive limitations. Now, when I look at Derik Queen as a player, a little bit undersized for the center spot, and this comes into the question of where he'll be playing on the floor that we'll get to here in just a second. But at 6'10", 246, not tiny by any means, but not prototypical NBA center size. But with that undersized that he has great on-ball skills. And what I mean by that for Derek Queen is for a guy as big as he is, he, with the ball in his hands, can make things happen. He can catch it in the post, face up, couple dribbles, get to the rim. He can bring the ball up in transition. A very unique player in the sense that you don't just dump it down to him and little hook shot, hope he can do something with it. He can really run your offense and run things with the ball in his hands. And paired with that, he's also a monster rebounder. Again, despite not being a full 7-footer, he really attacks the glass hard. And that's despite his limited athleticism. But he's able to use his skills, especially on the offensive end of the floor, to combat that lack of athleticism. Now, the big thing with Derek Queen is that the jumper definitely needs some work. He likes to take and operate in that mid-range area from the elbows, from the free throw line, but doesn't knock down a high enough percentage of those middies. So if he's able to develop that and even further develop a three-point shot, which he has flashed at times, that's where this offensive potential of a guy who's 6'10", can handle the rock, has good passing IQ, and can also shoot, then you see a player worthy of a top 5 selection there on the offensive end of the floor. But he'll have to always be paired with players who are good on the defensive end of the floor because although he's not awful there, he's not great, and he really doesn't have a lot of tools to be great on that end of the floor. This season, in his lone year with Maryland, was a freshman. Numbers were solid, man. 16.5 points and 9 rebounds per game to go along with 2 assists, which I don't think the 2 assists really show enough his ability to, handle the ball and run the offense and get other guys involved. He's not like a Jokic level type of player, or even a Domantas Sabonis or an Alperen Sengun type of player at that position, but he still does a good job there. 52% from the field, lower than what you'd like to see from a center, but again, he does like to step out a little bit further and take some mid-range shots. 20% from 3, obviously not what you want to see, taking about 1 3-pointer per game, but something that he's shown flashes of that is an exciting part of development in his game. Now, for Derek Queen here, the comps are interesting because he could be likened to a few different types of players, but not quite exactly. The one that I think is the best comparison is Alperen Sengun of the Houston Rockets, but with slightly less playmaking. The way they like to get to their spots in the mid-range, they're not really athletic, but they have some finesse, they have some skill. They can put their back to the basket, make a good pass, but also good rebounders as well, though not very good defenders. I think that's a pretty good comp. But again, he's not quite the passer that Sengun is. Another comp that I heard thrown out there from one of our NBA guys here at Chat Sports, and I've seen this on the internet as well, is DeMarcus Cousins. Now, that's obviously very high praise to throw out a Boogie Cousins comp, but you can kind of see it, right? Guys that can handle the ball, that aren't super athletic, but are able to get their own shots up, and you trust them with the ball in their hands to face up and make something happen out of the post. So if he can, again, he has to develop that mid-range shot at the very least to be a true threat offensively, or else guys are just not going to respect it. He's going to have a tough time getting his own shots at the NBA level against better athletes. But again, you see where teams are going to love and really fall in love with the offensive potential that a guy like Derek Queen has. Now, the biggest question that I have with Derek Queen as it relates to this Sixers team, and probably a question that a lot of NBA teams will have, is where does Queen fit onto the roster? Because if you're running him full-time 5, which you might be able to get away with, you're going to need a really good defender next to him at the 4. And I think ideally long-term, he can play at the 4 with a bigger center, more defensive-minded center at the 5. But in my opinion, for him to be able to run the 4, he has to get that outside shot down. So if he never does, he kind of becomes a bit of a tweener, right? Where you don't know if he's a 4, you don't know if he's a 5, and all of a sudden you want to run your offense through this guy, but you really can't because on the other end, he can just be such a problem there, right? And especially for the Sixers team, when I'm looking to draft a potential replacement for the future for Joel Embiid, if that's the route they want to go, I don't really think I need somebody who's doing all these things offensively. I need somebody who's big, who can protect the rim, get rebounds, and be a force down there. And to me, that's just not quite Derek Queen's game. But looking past these 2 prospects, I just want to take a look and talk about this draft as a whole for Philadelphia. This upcoming NBA draft is going to be huge for the Philadelphia 76ers. You take a look at where they're at right now in their organization, not a team that you hope is going to be picking in the top 5 a whole lot moving forward. So you have a chance right now, assuming they keep their pick, to select in the top 5 of the NBA draft and get a player who could be generational and could be key to the future of your franchise. You have some aging stars like Joel Embiid, like Paul George, but you have some young guns as well, like Tyrese Maxey, like Jared McCain. Hopefully you bring back Quentin Grimes. So you have a chance now to draft a potential star-level player in the top 5, and you might not have this chance again for a little while. You have to take advantage of it. Whoever the Sixers select in this NBA draft, they have to get it right. Daryl Morey, you cannot mess this up because the future of Philadelphia really does depend on it. Look, I know that the Sixers don't really control their own destiny when it comes to getting the pick, right? There's, of course, a chance that they don't get the pick, and then all of a sudden everything is screwed because we've been talking about this pick being so important here moving forward, and the lottery and Adam Silver could just say, we don't want you guys getting the pick. It falls to 7. It goes to OKC. But if they do get it, they have to get it right because it really could help this franchise be good post Joel Embiid. But you be Daryl Morey for me for a second here. Pretend the Sixers keep their pick, keep that 5th overall pick, and you are on the clock at number 5 overall. Let's say that Cooper Flagg, Harper, Ace Bailey, VG Edgecombe all go. Who are you selecting with a number 5 overall pick in the draft? Let me know in the comment section. If you made it this far in the video, hopefully that means you enjoyed. I encourage you to subscribe. The best draft coverage you will find on the 76ers here on YouTube.